Right, Aeson people. We're gonna get quickly started on just a demo display I wanted to do. So as you guys know, we were just messing around with the cockpit stuff. We're literally rounding up with our final few things before we start to get ready our A321 for its launch day stuff. All the kit changes that will appear on these new planes now, I've pretty much gotten at least to a point where I feel it's stable enough. But yeah, I decided I was going to mess around with some cockpit stuff. As you can see here, we have only at the moment what's known as the PFD, the Airbus PFD version. Boeing has its own version, and at the moment I've bothered to do the actual tape for the altitude. You've probably noticed in one of the previous videos that I've demoed obviously that we have a moving joystick. We also have obviously working flap here, and obviously it goes to, you know, the settings, but we're going to leave that on takeoff mode for today. And then you've got obviously the working joysticks. Up is back, down is there, right, left, right there. Okay. And obviously we have the working gear lever, but we can't obviously do that here. So without much further ado, I'm going to try and fly in this view for today. Let's see. We'll try and fly in this view. Flaps are down. I'll control my speed instead, I think. I'll try to anyway. Okay, here we go. There you go, the gears is going up. Oh, I should show you the altitude. There we go. Oopsie. So as you can see, altitude tape is going up. Now I'm gonna go and put on this 320. Oh, looks like a little bit of lag there. Looks like there's server lag on Roblox, but thankfully the auto throttle is a bit more stable than at least what's being fed back to my computer. So we are pretty much level flight. Oh, how could I forget? Flaps up now. There we go. Now let's also, as you can see, floating point errors start happening. Gotta love Roblox when it gets to this point. Let me show you the gear lever. There you go. This light doesn't turn green until obviously it's fully down. Now that light may or may not exist on the Airbus versions. I just bothered to put it in because I like fancy lights. Oh, so there we go, gears down. If I have a look outside, I will see my gears are down. Okay. Okay. And then we will go in the cockpit now, and gears up. Alrighty, so with that being done, essentially, it's not really much to do other than to see how far this tape goes. Now obviously, because the cockpit is literally disintegrating because of floating point errors, I don't think we will be able to get to that height to see this without it completely dead, but I'd be happy to try. So we are at 3-1, we'll turn on the autopilot. Autopilot will put us down to 0 pitch. We're going to turn ourselves for head and vis, and we will maintain a 2-3 vertical speed upwards. Speed will go 300. Literally, see, this is what I'm talking about in terms of floating point errors. Like Roblox, really common, man. But outside literally looks like nothing has affected it, and that's because, as I said before in the previous video, the cockpits for some reason are the first parts to start seeing floating point errors, because they do have a lot of small parts on them, and for some reason it's the smallest parts that start to see floating point errors. I guess it's because floating point errors are really like small errors, and obviously the smallest the small changes affect these small parts a lot more than it will start to affect the bigger parts, and so you will see floating points really bad on the small parts first before you see it on the bigger parts. The moment you see the bigger parts shaking like the smaller parts, then you know you've really gotten into extreme amounts of floating points. So we are carrying our descent in to 3000 at 300. Now obviously my later versions of Autopilot, when I bother to do it, there will be an ability probably to limit how far the auto throttle can use, like maximum power. So obviously if you don't want it to use toga and you just want to use the flex amount, you can obviously set that it can only go up to your flex amount and stuff. Obviously the basic autopilot isn't that clever yet. Same as the reason probably you don't see me using altitude when I want to climb is because its altitude will climb the plane up at its own decided rate. So 3000 is the maximum. It will go for 3000 till it gets near the altitude, and it will start skimming down. But we don't want that, because we know that planes don't just go 3000 feet all the way up. They're just not able to do that unless it's an F-22 or fighter jet. So in the later version of the autopilot, of course, like it would be done in the real planes, you can set an altitude, but you can also set a maximum vertical speed that it can use to get to that altitude, and that's pretty much what we are going to be messing around with in this new autopilot later on. So I think we've gone past the bounding point. I'm going to take a turn for 150. That should put us heading towards there. Now I know this looks quite steep, but believe me, it's usually the turns that you will take on the real plane, which is just 25 degrees. On the real on the finished versions, like the A321 and stuff, we won't have this. I probably described it before. This is how I tune all my PID controllers, which are like essential for my fly-by-wire, essential for my autopilot, essential for my systems, a lot of systems on the plane. And so whenever it's here, it's usually because I've had to tune something or I've just forgotten to take it off. But it will never be on the finished product. So, but it's actually it will be hidden on the finished product though. Honestly, I've obviously deleted there's some versions I just forget to remove it completely, and so it's only just invisible. But it's that, for anyone wondering, that's not like any special system or anything. It's just for tuning the existing PIDs. So let's see, we're at 16,000. Let's see if we've got our second speed out. Okay, we have, but obviously you can see that the cockpit is at a stage of disintegration, which is thank you Roblox. So we're literally, well, nearly at 20,000, and because we're nearly at 20,000, I am going to set us to go for 1.6, because I just noticed that we've been using a lot more power than we should, and that's because we've been trying to climb at a vertical speed but it's getting very close to the maximum capabilities of the plane in terms of its ability at its weight to climb versus how much thrust is being produced. We just don't have the amount of energy, so obviously we have to settle for 16,000, and then when we get to over 24,000 feet, we will then head up for at least Mach 0.85, or in my terms I just put 450 knots, and then go down to 14,000 vertical speed, all the way up to whatever the maximum height is. So where are we? We're flying just over the fake Paris map, so I think we're actually on course to just head straight back down. I can't wait when so the second part of this area is actually going to be like the navigation map. Some of you, if you're like in X-Plane, or if you've used probably even Finite Flight or whatever sim that's got a decent cockpit, you will see there's usually an arc here, or maybe a circle. This is where your navigation points are, your traffic points are, even being able to see the weather and what's in front of you will be. And yeah, so when it comes the advanced version of the autopilot, that will be very useful for finding out where your plane is in reference to different beacons. So you probably seen that we have beacons down here. Eventually, when that new autopilot is done, and then obviously this cockpit thing exists, you'll be able to see your plane in reference to the actual beacon, so we won't really have to have like these billboard guys that show you where your plane is. Alright, so we're reaching 24,000. We're gonna set the vertical speed down 1.4, and we're gonna go in for 420. And we will maintain 420 all the way up. So I'm gonna go 1.1 instead, because I just remembered we are MTOW weight. I think 1400 is if you're 260 tons, so we're gonna go 110 upwards because we are 280 tons. Unfortunately, we don't have fuel at the moment, so the fuel we'd actually be burning that would probably get us at least a lot less than 280 tons isn't being burnt. So climbing at 140 but trying to maintain also 420 knots isn't really going to be possible. As you can even see, we've already sort of got to a point where we're even struggling at the moment with 420. Where are we? We'll take a turn to 220. So as you can see just a tiny bit, we will want to very soon again just find a little bit of a tune for the near to the 400s for the wing leveler. So what you can see here, just slightly now, as we're waiting for 220, there is oscillations. This oscillations is happening from the wing leveler. It's just a tune that at a certain speed it can't deal with whatever current tune we have. So I got to go and pretty much retune just for the speed, and that's actually probably the yaw damper itself. If I turn off the yaw damper's off. It looks like it was even a yaw damper. It wasn't even the. If I put this in, yeah. So we'll just what we'll do is again common finished product. For like the A321, we'll like have extensive testing anyway for that type of thing, and so the yaw damper really just needs a minor. What we've done with the pitch elevator already, as you can see, it's super smooth, is that we changed the tunes that we sent to the PID controller using what's called the fuzzy PID type system, and all we do is that we at a certain speed we just change the tune so it's less aggressive for that speed, because the faster you go the less amount of force you really need to change, and then that's practically all we do, and it gives us a smoother plane. So we're gonna go and we're gonna turn for 300. We don't have a yaw damper system now, as you can expect. However, at higher speeds, the yaw damper need for, like, you know, to prevent adverse yaw isn't really going to be much of an issue. And we would just turn. I'm going to turn now for 0 so that we can fly back to fake Paris. I'm going to now probably put our vertical speed down to 1000 as well, and we'll set that to 1000 so that we can see if we can climb to 420. I mean, yeah, climb to 420 in speed. Quite heavy anyway, so I'll just probably go 800. I feel it was 800. If I'm like a lighter plane, at like 2620 tons, I'd blitz it to 420. But we can't with 280 tons. It's just not possible because it's really heavy. I could do it on 1000, however, but because I want to go, I could do this plane on 1000 knots at 350, or but because I want to get as close as I can to 420 just so I can climb a lot quicker. I'm not going to do that. And obviously, if you have your plane towed on for so long, you're burning a lot of fuel. That's why we don't try to go too far. So I feel like it looks like the maximum this is going to hit whilst climbing is 400. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for 390 instead. And again, you can expect this will try and hold instead 400. So it says 390 here. It will try and hold 10 more than what we set. I'm going to change that, as I did say before, later on, so that it holds what you set it to be. But we set it plus 10 because of, in the older version of the auto throttle, you had to set it plus 10 because of how it worked. I want to have a look at what our trim is at. Our trim's at minus 0.12 down. So It's not much going for it on that one. Let's see what's happened in our cockpit. Oh, quite surprising. Our cockpit is actually not dying, which is weird. It suddenly just found a way to revive itself. Oh, actually, you know what? It's probably because we've actually flown right over the we flew right over the previous area. Here is something I'm not happy with, and thankfully it's shown that error. So you can see we lost, just the last part here hasn't moved up. I think that's an error somewhere in one of the scripts. Let me see if it's doing the same on this side. Yeah, it's doing the same on this side. Let's see, 1, 3, 3. It's got this correct. 3. That's wrong. 3 and 1 are wrong. So what I will do later on is that I think 3 and 1 has become the hundreds is correct, but it's the thousands and the 10,000s that's gone incorrect. I think it went over a certain amount and it's gone completely incorrect. I don't know if it's looking at this one here, it's looking at here. For some reason it probably is, or it's gone straight down to 1. Okay, so it's found itself there. That's 1. That's exactly where it should be. Not sure why it's gone there, however. We'll see what happens next. But now, as you can see, our cockpit is starting to completely disintegrate. We're gonna head back for where we head? We'll head 170. Okay. So this one is at 1, 2. That's correct. Here, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I mean, 2 3s here. So that's correct. This 2, 4, 3 is correct. Is this one here that's very wrong? I don't know if it's because of the cockpit disintegrating that's causing that issue, or let me quickly zoom in more. This is moving, definitely moving if this is changing, but it looks so weird because the cockpit's disintegrating. See, you gotta love Roblox and this stupid floating point errors. It really makes the experience top notch. If this hits here, if it hits 3, that we know then this is following at least a trend, but okay, so it's following the trend on that one. I just don't know what's gone on, if this middle one has had a fault somewhere. I'm gonna quickly have a look at my code later on. Now let's see what we are doing in FPS. I mean, we're on 60 FPS. Let me look what we're doing outside. Okay, so we're about to fly over what would be the center point. Oh, where's my plane gone? Oh, there's my plane. Okay. Okay, so I mean I can at least start to see this is moving as it should be. Thank you very much, Roblox. But this is completely dead. So I know this is had a fault. It's clear. This is a clear fault issue. I don't know when it will restart itself. And that has to be most likely down to disintegration, because if this is working, reporting what it should be reporting now, and this is disintegrated for some special reasons. We're gonna hold. Oops, that's gonna take us down. Not what I wanted. Not what I wanted at all. It's taking us down. Oops, what am I doing? I shouldn't be using that at all. This wasn't very smart of me. Nearly put the plane into a complete stall. Brilliant. So we're at 800. We're still climbing. And because we've lost a lot of speed, we're going to have to recover some of that. So we're not going to be able to climb. But what we'll have to do is we'll have to level. Like in real world, if you lose speed like that, you just got to level the plane, regain the speed you've lost, and then go back up. You just can't recover the speed with that thin air as much. So there's a reason why you shouldn't touch that at high altitudes, because it just throws you straight to 3000 vertical speed, and you can't maintain that with this heavy weight. Where am I? Let me hit for 340. Okay, and let's begin our climb at 700. So we're at 3600. I'm gonna, for today, park this at 3.8. I want to go 3.8. It's gonna take maybe about 2 minutes more to be at 3.8. But I want to stay around about near this area, because it looks like the cockpit doesn't disintegrate obviously near the center point, so it's still alive near the center point. So what I gotta do is I just gotta keep trying to fly around this center point, just around here. It's pretty high up now. There's the A321 and the A350 behind it. And then the control tower. So we just gotta keep circling around here pretty much. Should probably get better keybinds for the camera. So let's see where we are. Okay, so guess we're turning again. 220. Here we go. When we get near 380, I'll turn this on. I want to turn it on when I know it's gonna try and kill us again. That's the last time. 220. Head me back for 170 now. I don't know if I want to turn on the altitude thing now, knowing how he's gonna try and murder us again. Okay, that's fine. Now the altitude's coming on, because I know he's not gonna murder us. And that's fine. So the altitude guy will now maintain us at least close to 8,000 feet without killing us, because we done the climb ourselves manually with a vertical speed, and so now he's going to slowly pitch us down, and we'll be able to gain speed, and this throttle, once he gets near speed, will slowly remove the amount of throttle to put in there. I'm gonna go. I think that's fine, to be honest. We'll leave it at that. And that's pretty much our trip up to 38,000. We know we didn't have, at this weight, we know we can't really climb up to 43,000 safely, because we're just too heavy. We're just way too heavy. But yeah, that was our climb up there. What I might do is I might just buff this just a teensy-weensy bit, because I do want it to be able to reach 420. If possible, but at its weight, it's really not going to get to 43,000 unless we put fuel that can, you know, diminish, and then as it loses weight it will be able to climb, but it's really hard to do that when you do not lose any fuel. So it acts as it should be realistically. So now this is the part where I decide to jump out the plane for photos. Great. Jumped out the plane. Fly me. I just want my character not to die so I can get a nice picture. And that will actually fly itself till physics kills it off. Whenever, that's usually like 2 hours away. That's pretty much all. Now, for some weird reason, I'm assuming it's sound related or something, you can still hear the plane, even though it's like many miles away from us. So that's got to be something that we will tune. It's probably, I don't know, it's the sound. It just needs to have a roll off so that it rolls off once it's past a certain distance, because it's completely gone, but we can still hear it. I don't know if, but that might actually just be a little glitch where if you're the pilot, because it's technically still, it can sometimes glitch where it can still become in your physics ownership. Then you can still hear it. But I think that's really just a sound roll off issue with Roblox. But that's gone. And that's pretty much the end of the video. So many more to come with an actual A321 very soon. So cheers.